So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming in. I once again welcome you all on behalf of DPIT as well as India Today, who've been an excellent partner with us. And thank you. It's been a long, painstaking experience for everyone with long nights for preparation. But I'm so happy that you could all come in despite the traffic challenges which are there because of the Republic Day also. So, I think no one can match up to the exhortation call of Mr. Amitabh Kant. But what I'd like to say is that this was envisaged not only as a discussion between stakeholders, but also as a celebration. Also to deepen that understanding and that, conversations which we've been having. And like Akash said, small conversations. We've had discussions with Rajneesh earlier on wines and whiskey and why they are not much more onto the landscape as much as we'd like them to be. So what we wanted was a larger discussion, a deeper discussion and a deeper engagement, I think. So this is just the start of a conversation. Now, everyone's talked a lot about what GIs can do. All of you are working in this sphere. You all know what GIs can do. I also tend to think that, let me read out, briefly what everyone has said. So maybe that will give us a understanding of what we all expect that GIs can do. We've gone through a lot of empirical data. And I feel that somehow we are tending to load on too many things onto what GIs are expected to do. So when we say, why do people get a GI tag? Obviously, there's a price benefit. There's an exclusivity to it. Well, people want to go on to that. And also, there's a larger conversation around GIs. We started with wines and cheeses. And even today, despite, talk of increasing export potential and all, and I think Raj hinted at it slightly when he said that why is everyone looking outward? Look at India. Everyone's coming to India with a huge domestic market. Let's just fulfill the market requirements within our own country, and then we can look out. And I think that's a really clean way of looking at things, because what we've understood and I actually am a little hesitant to load so many things onto the GI tag. We are talking about socio-economic potential. We are talking about women empowerment. Akash spoke about that a little bit. And I'm sure, the work that you've done has led to empowerment. But do we need to look at a GI policy which essentially starts with empowerment, or are we looking at a product which needs to be branded and commercialized? I think that's the key difference which we would like to, specifically maintain through this conversation, and we'd like your inputs on that. As you know, we started with, a GI Act. It's almost been more than 20 years now since we've had a legal framework for that. We didn't have a GI policy. There have been bits and pieces. DPIT has been doing its bit. Sir said that, when he was deputy secretary, which was many years ago. So these conversations have been happening for a long time. But last year, we did a huge, series of campaigns, I would say. There were numerous stakeholder consultations which we did. We branded it through metro advertisements in the airports, specifically, for people coming in. So essentially, large awareness campaigns. We also took our own artisans and our producers outside, agricultural farmers outside. They went to Birmingham, they went to Berlin. We had a very good, repeat orders for Bedinak tea, which came in after the Birmingham festival. So these are all, light points, luminous, very luminous for us, and we are happy to do that. But I would also understand that these kind of things are slightly difficult to sustain. And I think what we need to do is first, what, Ambud said, to create that a structure, basically put in a structure. Anuj said something about FPOs should be allowed to register. I think he's not here, but FPOs are already registered. They are, there. Rajnikantji would tell us that, they've fostered, as well as Akash would be saying that so many FPOs have put in, applications for GI tags. Many of them have already got GI tags. So, I think Anilesh was trying to draw the Agriculture Secretary into a discussion on shared GIs and the international contests and jostlings which we've had on GIs, but he, of course, did not rise to his bait, so kept the conversation very, very clean on that. Like I said again, that even though we say that, it can add value, it can deepen rural communities engagement, local actors engagement, activate collaborations with people. But how many examples and how many empirical studies do we have to actually support this? We would like it to do this, but is it actually happening? There's actually very little empirical evidence from India. We've done a lot of exercise in reading through empirical evidence outside, especially EU. That's been one of the main, people who've really pushed for the GI framework, and they've made it a very robust framework. They have the largest share in the market for GIs, but 82% of that is accounted through wines and cheeses, and that is where that is why that special session, and Raj, I think, pushed for it with Karan, that why don't we have a special discussion on wines and whiskies. Actually, I think that is something which we really need to be looking at, and that's where we would like to hear from all of you why there's so much of hesitation from the Indian side, despite, doing so well on single malt. I mean, we keep reading of all these promotions happening, and I'm sure your profit lines are showing that also. But in terms of application, there's still a little bit of reticence that we see, and we'd like to understand where, and what the government can do in that. But what are the problems? And we all know GI can do a lot of things. It might not do everything, but where are the problems? Why is it that despite all of us, saying we are such a diverse country, and we still have China with about 9,000 odd GIs. We have Germany, such a small country, with about 7,000 odd GIs. Turkey is with about 7,000 odd GIs. Yet the kind of nationalism that is associated with GIs, we don't see in India, and which came out through the panel discussion before us. So what is the problem in this system? And I think, though it was addressed in the previous panel, I still feel that even though it commands a premium price, but not necessarily going to the producer group. So I think that's a crucial key, that it's not trickling down. That is one thing. The other, it might increase production, which is what we want it to do, that it will increase production. But again, that increased production is too small in any case to look at an export market, or even sometimes fulfill the requirements of a domestic market. So these are the two crucial things that we looked at. The other thing, again, coming back to wines, I read a report on how in Napa Valley, even our best product, and I may be a little dated, this is 2020 report. So even the best wine from the New World would not command as high a price as a Napa Valley average wine. So I think that is something which we need to then somewhere we are going wrong. I'm no expert on this industry, but I'm certainly, wanting to listen to more on this as to why we are not doing well there and why we are not commanding that higher price and doing better than that. The other thing which I feel is that there is a rice which has a GI, Navara in India. Now, the producer base is so small. So just a couple of hundreds, maybe some producers, it's just insufficient. So what is it that then we need to target? Maybe we need to look at rural hospitality, some rural fairs, rural tourism, and the hospitality industry essentially. About 2 years back, I went to a place very close to Missouri for a holiday, and in the hotel there, they were selling rhododendron juice. Ever since my childhood, बुरांस का जूस हम लोग पीते आए हैं, but there was no reference to any local community. It was just being sold as a hotel product, which is where I feel that somewhere there's a gap. Yet that this hotel is located right there and good practices in the hotel, but maybe like many of you said in the panel discussion, GI hota kya hai? Anuj said that, that we have yet so much to learn on all these things. There's so much of a gap over there. So I think much more, and as Mr. Amitabh Khan said, much more push on awareness. And we're very happy to have, partnered with India Today. And I hope we can reach many more people. So the limited outreach that we have can be, sort of amplified by having you all with us. The other is the cost of a GI product sometimes can be prohibitive. So why is it prohibitive? Because one, it's a small product, and also the product is of a lower value chain. So it has to be short value chain. I mean, that's what we've been seeing. Short value chains, smaller value chains, that's where the biggest premiums are. But then the higher product is also prohibitive to consumers. Sometimes they might not necessarily want that. But if you turn this argument on its head, so for example, we see a lot of Madhubani saris. Not everyone is made by a Madhubani expert. And I've heard Rajnikantji very passionately espouse on this as to why we are not doing enough on, stopping this kind of infringement. I would look at it in another way, that at least everyone knows about Madhubani now. Once they know about it, then they can actually look at an actual authentic product and say that this is the actual unique Madhubani, and you can transition many of the people who are buying these factory laid out Madhubanis and go on and transition into a higher unique product consumer. So how many of them, we would be able to convert? I think that's the big thing. So we are looking at a policy now. We are working on it for the past 1 year. We've had conversations. That's when we met Rajneesh in that conversation. We had people like Tanera, Amul, everyone coming in. But we do realize that despite our diversity, we still do a lot of copycats. And many of us actually would be infringing on a lot of products. So that's where there's this, tension between how much to go further and how much to remain. But I would still say 658 is the total GI registrations, which includes 20 foreign GI registrations also. So if you look at 638, that's a really small number. So let's start by making it bigger. I have the Madhya Pradesh Textiles Principal Secretary with us, and she was telling me they have some about 10 products, they're working on that. But I would still say it's small. We need to do a much bigger piece on this. And that's what I think everyone is. Dr. Pandit has been spearheading that campaign. And he was just telling me at the beginning of this program that they'll be doing at least one CGM per month now. So look at 10 to, so maybe the long wait times were also a deterrent that could help, that could get help resolve this. So like I said, first is the identification of the products, and then second is what Mr. Khan said, to look at just a few products. And then, look at exports only for those, and the remaining we target towards our domestic consumer base. Once they build that base level, then you can think of transitioning, you can think of taking it forward. So just to, guardrail this conversation, I would hope that we don't load too much onto GIs. Just the way I always feel that as a collector, when we were in districts, we tend to, put a lot of onus on self-help groups. We tend to think that many cases where even government is not able to deliver, the self-help group will be able to deliver. So I think too much of load on a very nascent and a very fledgling, appellation right now might deter a lot of things. But I think we can really move forward on that by building the base and then looking at certain products and going forward with that. And we look forward to, a far more deeper, and I had Manoj, I think, was talking to me and he was saying that let's do all this across the country. So let me think about where the budget is also going to come from. But yeah, certainly we'd like to hear much more from you and take this, much more into a much more expansive and deeper conversation with all of you. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.